الحمد لله أنار بنور كتابه بأجيل الظلم ونور بأنوار كتابه قلوب العرب والعجم وأحاط علمه بالكائنات فلا يخفى عليه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وأرسل رسوله النبي الأكرم هاديا وإلى الصراط المستقيم داعيا وإلى الخلق مناديا فأسمع الله به آذانا صما وبصر به أعينا عميا وفتح به قلوبا غلفا فصلوات الله وسلامه وهو طب القلوب ودوائها ونور العيون وضياؤها وهو الرسول المجتبى والخليل المصطفى صاحب المقام المحمود والشفاعة العظمى وأصلي وأسلم على صحبه الأخيار وآله الأبرار وعلى من سلك سبيلهم واتبع طريقهم بإحسان أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد جاءهم رسول من عند الله مصدق لما معهم نبذ فريق من الذين أوتوا الكتاب كتاب الله وراء ظهورهم كأنهم لا يعلمون واتبعوا ما تتلو الشياطين على ملك سليمان وما كفر سليمان ولكن الشياطين كفروا يعلمون الناس السحر وما أنزل على الملكين ببابل هاروت وماروت وما يعلمان من أحد حتى يقولا إنما نحن فتنة فلا تكفر فيتعلمون منهما ما يفرقون به بين المرء وزوجه وما هم بضارين به من أحد إلا بإذن الله ويتعلمون ما يضرهم ولا ينفعهم ولقد علموا لمن اشتراه ما له في الآخرة من خلاق ولبئس ما شروا به أنفسهم إنهم كانوا يعلمون وقال تبارك وتعالى كذلك ما أتى الذين من قبلهم من رسول إلا قالوا ساحر أو مجنون وقال النبي صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم اجتنبوا السبع الموبقات قيل يا رسول الله وما هن قال الشرك بالله والسحر وقتل النفس التي حرم الله إلا بالحق وأكل الربا وأكل مال اليتيم والتولي يوم الزحف وقذف المحسنات الغافلات المؤمنات وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام من أتى كاهنا فصدقه بما يقول أو أتى امرأة حائضا أو أتى امرأة في دبرها فقد برئ بما أنزل على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. My dear brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu has given us Iman, has given us life, and after life Allah has given us Iman. That's why we are here. If we didn't have life and we didn't have Iman, we would not be here. If we didn't have life, then we would be where? Some of us are already there maybe, in the Qabristan, in the cemetery. If you're 60 and over, then you're allowed to lean on the wall. If you think you're less than 60 and you're still young, then don't lean on the wall. 60 and over is allowed. If somebody who's not 60 but thinks they're 60, then it's allowed for them also. When we come to the Masjid, when we come to the house of Allah, we should have respect for it. One day, I saw a brother here in Salah. So he came in Bermuda shorts and a Bermuda shirt. I didn't say anything to him because I didn't want to upset him. But I was thinking to myself that if he was invited to a dinner, would he wear this and go there? So, the answer we all know. When we come to the house of Allah, we should respect it. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, Ya Bani Adama, قد أنزلنا عليكم لباسا يواري سوآتكم وريشا ولباس التقوى ذلك خير ذلك لعلهم يتفكرون. And in another ayat, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says that It's in the 8th juz also. That when we come, Ya bani Adam khudhu zinatakum inda kulli masjid wa kulu washrabu wa la tusrifu. That when you come for sajda, come in attire which is suitable. Anyway, we should come to the masjid on a Friday with attire which is suitable. That we are coming to the masjid. And we should have respect for the masjid. And respect for the kalam of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, this is the month of, what month is this? Rabi-ul-Awwal. What date is it? See, this is where we get caught. What's the date today? Anybody know? No. Not 28th. It's 23rd. 22nd was yesterday, 23rd. 22nd today, yeah. This way from there. It's 22nd. And we all know what date is it today in the Gregorian calendar. What's the month? October? And what's the date? 29th. There is something about, because we live in a society, in a community, where somebody asked this question, that why do the Imams talk about, oh, what's the use of discussing Halloween when it's nothing? But the truth is that Halloween has everything to do with shirk, with paganism, and nothing to do with Tawheed. And we, as Muslims, we believe in Tawheed, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah tabarak wa ta'ala says about this, وَلَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ مُصَدِّقٌ لِمَا مَعَهُ. That when the Rasul of Allah came to them to do tasdeeq of that which they had, meaning to the Nasara and the Yahud, because they had also kutub, samawi, they had books that had come from above the heavens, Torah and Injil. نَبَذَ فَرِيقٌ مِّنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ. Allah says one group of them, they have thrown the kitab of Allah behind them. كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَرَاءَ ظُهُورِهِمْ كَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. As they did not know what kitab was. Alhamdulillah, in the Muslim world, no matter how we've deteriorated, but openly nobody does shirk. The Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you don't hear openly a whole group or a whole country start doing shirk. Yeah, people don't pray, people might not fast, but they don't openly do shirk. It's not good not to pray, not to fast, don't get me wrong, but they don't openly shirk. Why in the Jews and the Christians, they actually openly, they don't worship Allah. They do shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah mentions their shirk in these ayats in Surah Baqarah. That وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ. Because this is to do with them learning something which Allah has made haram. Allah made haram for them and for us to delve into magic, into sihr. And this few days now, the next 2-3 days, this is full of it. So the question arises that should we not discuss anything because it's just a tradition that's going on? But we have to. Because our children who go to the public school system and who they are affected by this. And if we now go to the stores, any store, we are affected by it also. So when something is common, then people don't think it's evil. But if you go into its roots, you will find that not Muslims, even the Christians and the Jews dislike sihr, they dislike magic. This comes from shirk. If you put a statue here or an idol and you tell a Muslim to worship it, he will die, but he will not do sajda. But if you ask them that wherever they live in the world, so those who live in, especially in India and Bangladesh, they are more affected by shirk than most of us, because they see. Recently in Bangladesh there was an incident where somebody went and put the Quran underneath the feet of one of those so-called idols, and there was a very big issue arises, and then all of a sudden India became involved in it, and they want Bangladesh to pass a law that nobody can say anything to a Hindu. Oh yes. But they can kill our people, they can do shaheed of masajid there and so on, but we cannot say anything. And especially our Muslim so-called rulers, every other day you hear that they are showering Modi with gifts. But they don't care what happens to the Indian Muslims. But there is al-kufru millatun wahida, or kama qala alayhi salatu wasalam. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, kufr, regardless what they believe in, what they worship, they're all one group when it comes to Islam. When it comes to Islam, they all become one. This is something which we as Muslims, sometimes we try to ignore or we don't realize. So Allah Ta'ala, He mentions in His Quran that when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came to them to do tasdeeq of what was written in the Kitab, meaning Injil and Zabur and Tawrat, they did not accept it. نَبَذَ فَرِيقٌ مِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَرَاءَ ظُهُورِهِمْ. They threw the kitab on their back, meaning they didn't accept it. They don't accept what the ahkam in the Bible even today is. They don't accept. In the Bible it's clearly written, thou shalt not drink, thou shalt not do adultery, zina, and so on. But they disregard it. But it's still there. So this is kufr with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ. Sulaiman alayhi salam, in his time there was a lot of this sorcery. In the time of Musa alayhi salam, there was a lot of sorcery. Quran mentions the sorcery in the time of Musa alayhi salam. And how these sorcerers and the magicians came to compete with Musa alayhi salam. Obviously they didn't know that Musa alayhi salam had mu'jiza. قال هي عصاي أتوكأ عليها وأهش بها على غنمي ولي فيها مآرب أخرى. That this my staff, I take leaves from the trees to feed my goats and sheep. And I have many other benefits from it. That I use it to walk on, to lean on. Sometimes if something harmful comes, I use it as a weapon. So Allah Ta'ala told him, throw it on the ground. قال ألقها يا موسى فألقاها فإذا هي حية تسعى. When Musa alayhi salam threw it on the ground, it became a snake, a serpent. And we know this qissa. But when Musa alayhi salam had to do it in front of, in an arena, where 80,000-90,000 people were there, and those who of competing with him about 30,000 in Gaza Tafasir. He said it's 30,000 or maybe more than that. And Musa alayhi salam beat them not because of sorcery, because Musa alayhi salam had a mu'jiza and they had their sorcery. So sorcery comes from the beginning of time. People practice it. But it's not halal. It's not permissible. So when it comes to Muslims, if somebody tells us to practice sorcery, we immediately say no. Alhamdulillah. But when it is, we think that it's okay for our children, for our coming generations, because they have to know, they have to live in this. So the Constitution, the first right in the Constitution is you can worship anything and everything, and nothing if you want. We don't have to agree with them in everything. We have to make sure that our Iman is preserved. And we don't fall into that trap. First of all, we don't read about it. Where does Halloween come from? Halloween comes from the Celtics. The Celtics are people of Europe, Ireland, Wales, some parts of France. They used to do this about 2,000 years ago. That when the winter used to come, because winter comes now, from Saturday, next Saturday I think, in Europe the time will change. Or maybe this weekend. The time will change. So they are afraid that the dead come back. This is a belief in the Mushrikeen general. The Hindus believe that when you die, you come back as a dog, or as a cat, or as a snake, or as a rat, or whatever. They call it reincarnation. Once you die, you don't come back. Quran is very clear about this. قال رب ارجعون لعلي أعمل صالحا فيما تركت كلا إنها كلمة هو قائلها. That the kafir, when he will die, he will then realize that he's going to go to hell forever. So then he will say, oh Allah, give me time, and I can go back, and I can worship you, and so on. The answer will be Kalla. إنها كلمة هو قائلها. The word has been said. Yani Allah gave you time that has been finished. Now you are going to go into Barzakh until the day of judgment. And Barzakh is a barrier between life and between Jannah and Jahannam. When a person dies, he will be raised in his grave. After that, if he has done good deeds, had Iman and so on, he will be shown his Jannah. And he will be also shown the Jahannam if he didn't believe. And then Allah knows when Qiyamah will be. And the person who disbelieved and did kufr and did shirk and so on, he will be shown also his place. That if he had believed, he would have been in this Jannah. But now he is going to hellfire, and he will be shown hellfire. This is Barzakh. This will all happen, regardless if we believe in it or we don't believe in it. As Muslims, we believe in it. The Quran tells us, وَمِنْ وَرَائِهِمْ بَرْزَخٌ إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. So these things are going to happen. And this thing that is going on is that it comes from the Mushrikeen, the Celtics. And before them it comes from the Mushrikeen of India. They believed in this, and they still believe in this today. And once somebody dies, his soul comes. Some Muslims believed in this also. Some Muslims still believe in it. Many, many years ago, they used to believe that if somebody in your family died, say on Wednesday, So every month or every year when the date of that death comes, that on that Wednesday they would cook kheer. You know kheer is? Rice pudding. We call it kheer, it's sweet rice pudding. And they would cook pakode. Pakode is like, what do they call them? In English, I don't know. In Arabic they call them falafel. And they would cook good dinner. And they would invite the Imam. That's the only time the Imam used to get invitation. They would invite the Imam. And they would say to the Imam, pray, for we have lost our father or grandfather, so X amount of years. So if you ask them why, they said because we are scared, we are afraid that his ruh will come again. So some of these people, they used to believe this, that ruh comes. This is what Halloween is about. They have in Halloween something called All Saints Day, where they believe that the dead come back. And if you don't give gifts for the dead, you know this lantern that they make out of the... Who eats throughout the whole year, after the 31st of October, if you go and buy a pumpkin, how much will that pumpkin be? Few cents. But now, you have to pay dollars. And nobody usually eats pumpkin. But they only use it for this. It's not the vegetable's fault. Allah didn't create it for that. But man, when he loses his intellect, that's what he does. ذهب الله بنورهم وتركهم في ظلمات لا يبصرون. Allah takes the nur of hidayat from them. ذهب الله بنورهم. Allah takes the nur away from them. So when Allah takes the nur away from them, they cannot see, they cannot be guided on what is right and what is wrong. Then they're scared of anything and everything except Allah. They're scared. In the night, they're scared. In the daytime, they're scared. They think that on this night, evil comes out. Khaliqul khair is Allah. Khaliqul shar is Allah. Allah is the creator of all good. And Allah is the creator of all evil also. This is Iman. So who created Shaitan? Allah did. And what does Shaitan do? Does he do any khair? No. But who is the creator of Shaitan? Allah. And he tests people through this. This is Quran. With this Quran, many are guided. But with the same Quran, some are misguided also. Some are misguided also. But Allah Ta'ala gives hidayat to whom He wants. And who wants hidayat. So I was saying the ayat, ذَهَبَ اللَّهُ بِنُورِهِمْ, that Allah Ta'ala takes away the nur from them. They might be intellectual in this world, but when it comes to the intellect of worshipping and recognizing Allah, their intellect goes away. Give an example of this. Is our Ustad used to give an example on this ayat, that the most intelligent man in India is not Modi. The most intelligent man is the guy who is the Supreme Court Supreme Justice. No, but that's in intellectual terms. They won't make somebody a Supreme Justice who doesn't have intelligence. But yet in the evening he goes and worships a cow. He can differentiate between what is justice and not, but he cannot differentiate that the cow is not his Lord. Allah, the creator of the cow, is his Lord. This is ذهب الله بنورهم وتركهم في ظلمات لا يبصرون. Allah puts him into darknesses, not darknesses that we see, the darknesses of kufr and shirk. يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور. Allah takes out people from the darknesses of kufr towards the nur of iman. In this sorcery and that, it is only darknesses. There is no nur in it. What they did was they went to Sulaiman alayhi salam. In the time of Sulaiman alayhi salam, or after Sulaiman alayhi salam, two angels appeared in Babel. Babel is old Iraq, Babylonian, they call it in English. And Allah sent these angels, Harut and Marut, and they used to teach people sorcery. But before they used to teach sorcery, they used to tell them that وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانُ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى الْمَلَكَيْنِ بِبَابِلَ هَارُوتَ وَمَارُوتَ وَمَا يُعَلِّمَانِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ حَتَّى يَقُولَا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ فِتْنَةٌ فَلَا تَكْفُرْ. That we are a test for you. Don't do kufr with Allah. Don't learn this. But al-insanu man harisun fima munya. Insan wants to know why he's being stopped. Once Akbar, the emperor of India, one of his wazirs was mullah. The mullah told him that you are blind. He said, people in the world, everybody is blind. So Akbar asked him, so you think everybody is blind? He said, yes. And he said, you are the most blind of all. Akbar said, I can see. He said, I'm not talking about this. He said, one day I will prove it to you. So he said, you have to write me a note that if I prove that you are blind, you will not kill me. So he wrote him a note. After some months, Mullah disappeared. Akbar had him look forward. No, nobody found him. And they went every year in the summer. Akbar used to go to Kashmir. And then half the year he used to spend in Lahore, half the year in Delhi. So he was going towards Lahore, he was coming from Lahore to Kashmir and then Delhi. So on his way, he came through Kashmir. So he found that there was a very pious person in the mountains, and he wouldn't eat and drink, and he only does worship of Allah. So Akbar was very infatuated by this. So he went and he sent messages. He said he doesn't want to see anybody. In the end, Akbar went to see him. So he said he has a condition. He will tell you. And when he went, he said, I can show you Jannah. But when I show you Jannah, you cannot see it if you have the clothes of this world. You have to have the clothes of the hereafter. So Akbar was infatuated, so he went. So this mullah made him take off all his clothes, made him completely naked, put him on a horse. And he said, whoever does not see the clothes of Jannah, he's a kafir. And you should have him killed. So Akbar came out. Now everybody who saw him saw that the emperor was naked. But whoever he asked, they said that we have never seen such beautiful clothes. Because nobody wanted his head off. But he came and his mother saw him. So his mother said, are you out of your mind? There's no clothes on you. You are completely naked. So he said, I'm naked? Yeah. He said, go and capture that man. But the man had disappeared. After some time when Akbar came back to his palace, a mullah came to see him. So he said, where have you been? He said, I saw you. He said, I've been looking for you once. He said, I told you that people in this world are blind, and then you are the most blind of them all. So Akbar asked him, how? He said, remember in the mountains you came to Kashmir, you saw this darwish, this so pious man, he made you naked. He said, yes. He said, that was I. I wanted to prove to you that you are blind. So he proved that people, whatever they see, they start to believe. But we cannot do that. What we see, if we see with the nur of hidayat, inshallah, it will be beneficial for us. And if we don't see it, there's something, and there is no nur in it, every woman has that nur inside. You all have it. You all have it. Some have it much, some have it less. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says in a hadith that اتقوا من فراسة المؤمن اتقوا من فراسة المؤمن فإنه ينظر بنور الله. That Allah has put that nur in every mu'min, every Muslim. But it depends on how your ta'alluq with Allah is. According to that, you will know. And if you don't have that nur, I'll give you an example of that. That nur is iman. That nur is iman. If a Muslim sees a person come up to him and start worshipping that tree, the Muslim will ask him, why are you doing that for? Why are you worshipping? Some people worship cats, some people worship rats. So we will laugh at it. Because we see it with the nur of Allah. That nur of iman, it exposes to us that this is wrong. And we need to keep that nur. We need to keep that nur. And we need to make sure that that nur is kept in our coming generations also, inshallah. So when these type of festivals come, rather than participating in it, first check it. Where does it originate from? I don't have time to go over all the details of where the Celtics got it from and how the Romans got it and how the Pope. You see, because Christianity, it observed everything. That's why Halloween has nothing to do with Christianity. But outside the churches, you see the patches here on the church on the corner of Griffin and Davy Road. There's a big church there. If you see, there's a big patch there, about half an acre, selling pumpkins. And again, it's got nothing to do with Islam. It has nothing to do with Christianity. But it's become part of their culture. It's become part of their religion now. Alhamdulillah, Muslims don't take this. But some of us, we think it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it, no harm in it. When we start thinking this, then shirk starts to creep inside. Shirk starts to creep inside. And when shirk starts to creep inside, then our ibadat, then our things, they will end up with nothing. So my dear brothers, we have to preserve our iman and the iman of our coming generations. And that is when we will read Quran and when we understand Quran. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, finish here. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that man ata kahina fasaddaqahu bima yaqul. That the person who goes to a sorcerer, a soothsayer, a person who tells your palm, and he believes in what that person says. First of all, we should not go to them. But if we do go to them and we believe in what they say, people read in the newspapers, they have the stars, horoscope. What do you call it? Yeah. These things, brothers, pass the boxes, inshallah. If we all put about $5 in, it will help the masjid. For the last 2 weeks.
Can we distribute the candy to the priest that comes to our house?
No, we shouldn't do that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's part of it. Because they're begging. We can give them any other time of the year. But if they come for the candy on that day, that means that they're party, and by giving them candy, we're participating also.
But we shouldn't do it.
We shouldn't do that. We should not participate with them. What? I don't understand. We shouldn't participate with them by giving them candy. But I lost now where I was. Anyway, they push this on us also, on our children also, on our coming generations also. So we have to be careful of, we might not think that this is not affecting our iman, but it does affect our iman. It does affect our beliefs. We might not understand it now, but 2 generations, 3 generations later, these masajids that we will be built, there might not be nobody to worship in them. I have seen this. If you go to Europe, Eastern Europe, Muslims lived there for 700 years in some countries. You've never heard of the names of those countries. Muslims lived there for 700-800 years. Lithuania, Latvia, Belarus, Albania is still Muslim. Kosovo. These places are still Muslim. Bosnia. They have been Muslims there for 700 years, 800 years. But now, in some places you go to, there's people there who are 80, 90 years old. All they know of Quran is Surah Fatiha. So we have to look after our own iman, and we have to make sure that we teach our children, coming generations, deen, so that iman will be preserved in them also. And if we don't do that, then all the money in the world will come to no use to us in the hereafter. لو يفتدي من عذاب يومئذ ببنيه وصاحبته وأخيه وفصيلته التي تؤويه ومن في الأرض جميعا ثم ينجي كلا إنها لظى. It won't come to use. And if we go with iman and our children don't go with iman, then on the day of judgment they will hold us and they will say, oh Allah, they used to go to the masjid, they used to practice, but they never told us. Yesterday I had a phone call. Yesterday. Oh brother, I want to wake you up. I know I'm taking your time, but I want to wake you up. This brother called and he said to me, his daughter is involved with a person, with a man, who he says went and accepted Islam, but what guarantee does he have that he accepted Islam? So I was trying to explain to him that, brother, we look at the zahir, we look at what's, if he went and he accepted Islam in front of an imam, then we will accept it. He said, no, I want to know, this is for us who are born Muslim. Okay? This is for us who are born Muslim. He said, I want to know, because in 2 months he hasn't learned Surah Fatiha. So I said, brother, that's not only his fault, that's our fault. That whoever made him Muslim should have made sure that they gave him time to teach him and so on. Then I asked a question. I said, brother, can I ask you a question? He said, yeah. I said, your children, are you sure they know Surah Fatiha? You want to know? You know what he said to me? You want to know what he said to me? He said, my children can read Surah Fatiha in English. I am not lying. Quran is in my hand. This is what he said to me. He said, my children can read Surah Fatiha in English, looking inside. I'm not going to say what nationality he was. I said to him, brother, you need to make yourself Muslim and your children Muslim. Then think about the brother who you are doubting about his iman. If we don't wake up, remember my words, our awlad will go without iman. It's happening. It's happening. We might be buried in a Muslim cemetery, but on the day of judgment, we will not wake up with Muslims. من تشبع بقوم فهو منهم أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that the people who you follow, you will be raised amongst them. May Allah safeguard our iman. Safeguard the iman of our children. Safeguard the iman of our coming generation. Brothers, this is not, I'm not making mockery of anybody. I'm worried about myself. I'm worried about my children, my coming generations. I live in America also. You live in America also. We all live in the West. How much have we done for our children's iman? Not about their being in school and getting the best scores. That's necessary also. But how much do we do fikr about their iman? We are not bothered about their iman. Or we are very negligent. And this neglect will lead our generations out of iman. May Allah not make it like that. May Allah not make it like that. I have heard from a Muslim person, and they were born in a Muslim family. I heard it with my own ears. I see it with my own eyes. When she saw us praying, she asked us, what is these actions you're doing? We said, we are Muslim. She said, my grandfather used to do this. May Allah give me tawfiq also, and you also. So that's why we need to preserve our deen and our iman. Inshallah, this is on Saturday, November the 13th, that's only like Saturday, the Saturday after that, we have for Masjid Khaleel a barbecue. We have the tickets, inshallah. One of the brothers will be standing outside immediately after Salah. The tickets is $10. That's for the barbecue. What you put in the boxes, that's for the masjid. So you can help us, inshallah. And the masjid, may Allah give us all tawfiq to give. Please donate generously to the masjid, because we have to pay bills also, we have to pay for the lights also, other things also. And alhamdulillah, you always help. We also have to make payments for the land. So please help the masjid. May Allah give you tawfiq and me tawfiq. Give us.